What if the reason you're here isn't the reason you think? What if the question that brought you here tonight isn't really the question that you needed me to answer? What if it wasn't really the area where you needed support? So I just want you to take a moment to be open to that possibility that you could actually get a lot more out of this event tonight than you realize. I don't always answer the question being asked, and I look to delve deeper sometimes into what's truly holding you back. Now, we got a lot of folks on the call tonight. We're not going to be able to put everybody in the hot seat to get one-on-one coaching with me, but there are some other places to play as well. I firmly believe in learning by teaching. And so when somebody brings a challenge, when somebody brings a question, I want to invite you to unmute yourself and answer that question. You may know more than you think you do, and you can demonstrate your understanding not only to me or not only to each other, but also to yourself by teaching. And if you said something that was slightly off, I may gently correct you, but I want to give you the chance to play as well by inviting you to answer others' questions also. And if you're not in the hot seat, I want you to think about what would you respond to my questions? How might you answer those questions, and what kind of questions might you ask as follow-ups? Just imagine that space as a place to play here. But I'm not going to be answering questions directly, especially not something like tips or direct questions about things you could find the answers to on the LSAT Unplugged YouTube channel or the podcast or LSAT blog. This is not a direct Q&A. We're going deeper here, and I want us to have the kind of conversation that only you and I could have. As some examples here, I have published many coaching sessions on the YouTube channel, the podcast and such. You may have seen some of those already. A few places to play here. Again, not answering the question being asked. I had a student the other day asking me about logic games, asking about rule substitution questions when she was trying to do all the games in her head. And that's obviously a more fundamental issue. And so surface and specificity versus going deeper. Process over simply information, simple Q&A. Rule substitution questions, I've given my general take on those elsewhere already, but if through our conversation we could discover that you were doing things in your head and you weren't getting all the rules down properly, that's a much more fundamental issue. I had another student asking me about whether to do timed sections versus doing questions by type when they weren't properly reviewing the questions they were doing. So it's all good. Timed sections, questions by type, it's all useful. But if you're not reviewing them in depth, that's the more fundamental issue. Finally, I had a student email me today about reading comprehension parallel reasoning questions, a super specific type of question among the most difficult, but she still hadn't figured out her overall approach to the passages. So again, what are the more fundamental things that could be holding you back? Let's play there. I also want you to think about the idea of what if your goals didn't represent your fullest potential? When students apply to work with me, I'll ask them what's their current score, what's their starting score, and what's their goal score. And whenever I see any goal score listed below 180, I want to push back on that. I never see any reason not to shoot for a 180. If you're committed to this process, I want you to give it your all. Now, obviously, not everybody's going to end up at 180. Fewer than 1% of test takers do. But that's a place to come from. Whether you get there or not specifically is not the most important thing to me. If you land at a 178, fantastic. If you land at 175, that's also great. And 170 may be enough for you. 165 may be enough for you. And if you have a 4.0 GPA, maybe the 160s or below is fine for you also, depending on your goals. But I want you to approach this exam as an end in of itself, even though it's simply in reality one stop on your legal career journey. There are many steps after this: law school, the bar, being successful in your job itself. But I want you to take on this challenge of the LSAT like you're giving it your all. And so when a student says to me, what if I only do 2 games, or what if I only do 3 passages? That may be your approach, and that may be fine for you, but that's not the place I work with my students. I work with students who are aiming to solve everything and really to aim for that 180, to give it their fullest effort, and to aim for the highest potential possible. And finally, again, learning by teaching. What if you knew more than you thought you did? And what if you could actually support another student and develop your own understanding further by teaching others? Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.